So, as a media academic, what has always bothered me is a very, very limited discourse on the idea of how gender gets represented in media overall, and that has been my concern. So, I've been researching in the space of children and television for quite some time, particularly for my doctoral thesis, where I've been trying to understand the representations of gender in animation programming on one hand, and the second part has been to talk to youngsters, that is children between 4 to 14 years of age, and understand from them, how they negotiate with the representations of gender that they come across, across all sorts of media, from television, with which they engage so much, to books, to new media, their gaming consoles, everywhere. So, as part of this, I did this massive content analysis study of 14 years of data on top animation programming that has been telecast on Indian children's television. I was very, very shocked to find out that out of 1057 characters that I studied for my research, more than 790 characters are male characters. So that makes the sex ratio on television screen so skewed. That is, you have 3 times more boys as characters in cartoon programming as compared to girls. Now, the first question that comes to my mind as a researcher is that are boys' stories therefore more important than girls' stories? Because when I go and speak to children about it, they have a sense of casualness, a carelessness about this trend. They think it's important. You go to young kids and you talk to them and they say that, well, yeah, boys are supposed to be heroes, boys are supposed to be doing it, girls are supposed to just be with them, partner with them, be a part of their extended friend circle. So that is the first question that bothered me, when I began this research. What also became a concern as I was progressing with this research was, all right, so we have severe dearth of female characters on screen, but whatever these 30% characters are, remaining characters, female characters, what is the problem in their representations? Are they empowering enough? And when I am saying empowering, I don't mean women who express a certain kind of bravado. I am saying that if there are protagonists and if they are female protagonists, what are the kind of things they are doing? What are the activities they are engaging in? My research further established that the kind of activities these female characters were engaging in were so feminine, stereotypically speaking. That is one part. So you had girls who were sensitive, who were affectionate, who looked good, they were doing all sorts of domestic chores. Even when they were going out of the house, they were coming back and finishing their domestic and household responsibilities. Now in all of this, where is this girl, who may be defying all these norms and trying to do more adventurous and interesting things? You go to children and you ask them about these representations and they would respond and say that yes, but girls are boring and boys are supposed to do more adventurous and funny things. The other thing that most children in my research, as it came out, defined was their severe lack of connection with a lot of female characters, saying that as children, I don't want to engage in that sort of role. Even young girls, in that sense, who are spectators of these cartoons and they are big consumers of this content, have male characters as their favorite. So you will have a lot of female audiences who are interested in boys as cartoon characters, but you hardly have any male audiences, that is young boys, who get attracted to this content which is female centric in nature. One, there is hardly any content which is female centric. When it is there, the narratives are so linear that children find it hard to connect with them. So it is this sort of multitude of issues that has defined cartoon programming across the world, and India, which has a large chunk of imported cartoon content, and very, very insignificant amount of indigenous content, a case in point being something like a Chota Bheem, which is a recent addition on television. This trend is something that gets repeated. You go and speak to producers, this is also the story they give you. Girls watch content made for boys, but boys wouldn't do vice versa. Now, considering who makes all of this was the next question. Who creates all of these norms? Where is the data to support it? When you have such a flawed, skewed rating system, how do you even, say these things with so much of conviction? So, when I began this study, these were the kind of contradictions, I started with, and while I wouldn't say that at the end of the study I have resolved a lot of contradictions, in fact a lot of new questions have come up, but I still think that my study overall had tried to address one gap that existed in academic research in the area of media and television studies in India, and two, I think children, who today are the most important part socially for the from the point of view of the marketeer, from the point of view of the media, I think they all need to be, they need to be taken very seriously, and there is a requirement of an active discourse on the idea of how gender gets represented in children's programming.